I want to talk about a few things that were not on the list of the 10 characteristics of a great book coach. And these are things that people frequently think that they have to be a good book coach, which they absolutely do not. So the first thing that we hear a lot is, do I have to be a published writer to be a book coach? A corollary to that question is, do I have to have an agent to be a good book coach? You can extrapolate this question out a million times over. Do I have to be a best-selling author to be a good book coach? Do I have to have made a ton of money as an author to be a good book coach? You know, fill in the blank with whatever thing that you want to fill it in with. And the answer to all of those questions is no, you do not. And this question actually makes me a little crazy, because there's this assumption that being a good writer is the same thing as being a good book coach. We assume that if somebody knows how to write a book that captures the public's attention, that they know how to teach other people how to do it, that they know how to coach others toward the same thing. We're assuming that they've spent time thinking about how to do that, developing processes for how to do that, developing systems and strategies for how to do that, thinking about how to do it better all the time. And writers aren't doing that. They're getting better at their own writing. They're not usually thinking about the process that they use to do that good writing. And oftentimes, people who are really good writers are just native geniuses at it. They don't have to think about it very hard. They haven't thought about it very much. They just happen to be really good at it, or they happen to have gotten lucky. And luck does not teach somebody else how to write. The assumption is also, I think, bizarre, because in almost every other industry, we don't make that assumption. You don't have to be a championship golfer to be a great golf coach. You don't have to be the best violin player in the world to be a great violin coach. One of my favorite examples is the tennis player Serena Williams, who's won somewhere over 20 Grand Slam tennis tournaments. And for many, many years, she's been coached by somebody who I believe never made it past the junior level in their own tournament play. So we don't assume that they have to have won a bunch of Grand Slams to help Serena win Grand Slams. It's a different skill. And that assumption negates the fact that you can learn this skill. So that's why it all makes me crazy, because we see all the time people learning the skills of a book coach who don't have the tangible accolades of a great writing career. In my own life, I had some successes as a writer. I had 6 books published with Big 5 publishers, and I was a solid mid-list writer, but I was not a top of the list writer. I was not making a ton of money as a writer. I did not have a fantastic, glowing, growing career as a writer. I'm a much better book coach than I ever was a writer, and my clients have done far better than I ever did as a writer. So I just stand firmly in the belief that you can learn how to be a good book coach regardless of whatever you have or don't have in the realm of being a writer. Another question that we get is similar-ish, which is, do I have to have, fill in the blank, a degree in English, an MFA, a PhD, experience in the classroom, any of the things that are sort of teaching related or academic related around the area of writing. And here too, the answer is no, you don't. That is not what makes a good coach. Clearly, having editorial skills is something that you need to have and that you need to get better at all the time and practice. Being able to read and analyze a story is clearly important. And those are things one learns in those academic settings, but you can learn them in other ways, and you can develop those skills your own self. So there's nothing that precludes someone from being a good book coach. There's no other thing besides those characteristics that I talked about that you need. And the other thing I want to say about this is there's something that is also being glommed together with that question. There's what you need to be a good book coach, and there's what you need to market yourself. So if you have some of those things, it might be easier to market yourself as a book coach. And the assumption there is that writers think that you need to have those things to be a good book coach. And it's just easier to play into that assumption to say, well, I have an MFA and therefore I'm a good book coach, or I have written 3 successful books and therefore I can help you do it, or I've been in the trenches, I know what it's like, I can help you do that too. There's no denying that that's helpful in terms of marketing. There's no denying that that is going to be of use to you when you market. But the true demand in marketing a book coaching business is in demonstrating and communicating the value that you're bringing to your ideal clients. That value can range from so many skills and things that you might be bringing. So let's take, for example, a lawyer. A lawyer who has not published a book, does not have an agent, does not have an English degree. Well, what does a lawyer have? They have the ability to think clearly and logically about words and ideas. They have the ability to manage a long-term project and to organize an argument. These are excellent skills to bring to nonfiction coaching in particular. So that's something that a lawyer might lean on when they're doing their marketing and their messaging. Somebody who's getting their book coach training and is a doula, what would they bring to the table as a book coach? Well, they know how to deal with people in very chaotic situations. They know how to manage big emotions. They know how to stick with someone over a 9-month project. They know how to bring together scientific evidence and compassionate care to help somebody to the end of something. They bring a lot to the table. So there's so many things that you probably have that you can bring to book coaching that are not the things you think you need. So in looking at the 10 characteristics and in thinking about your own ability to do this work, that's what I would urge you to do, is be honest about the things that you do have and the things that you are bringing and the things that you feel that you need to have to be a great book coach. We see more often than not people have trouble around the ideas of the entrepreneurship that I spoke about in the last video than we do people struggling around the concepts of how to help a writer. So it's interesting that the thing people ask about so much is, do I have to be a writer? Do I have to have an agent? Do I have to have a degree? They're not asking, do I have to get comfortable talking to people about money? Do I have to get comfortable learning how to communicate the value of what I bring? Those are the real questions you want to ask, because those are the things on which a good business is going to depend. You can learn how to be a good book coach regardless of what your success or not success as a writer is or has been or will be. All of that being said, book coaching is a great thing to do for writers. It's a great side gig to stabilize the income that you make from writing, which tends to be really up and down. We have a lot of writers in our program, and in the next video, I'm going to be talking about how this program is empowering and helpful to writers in particular.